This is Spirit Journey. Oh, I feel bright-eyed and bushy-tailed right now. Yeah, my alarm. I got it before my alarm. Yeah, I set my alarm for 4 o'clock. Um, I sprayed my plants. Yes, I made my elixir. Almost done drinking it. It's the best time to get your water, your initial water for the day. Yes, because it's getting cold out there, and the uh, cold season, you can easily dehydrate. It's very dry, the weather. Um, have my humidifier, but I see the water ran out, so I have to add more water to it. Yes, it um, helps my breathing. And the elixir, I have a little bit of vitamin C, turmeric, ginger powder. What else? My minerals, my liquid minerals, magnesium, uh, manganese, I think potassium also, um, my iron. Oh, what's the other one? A little bit of apple cider vinegar. Yeah, yeah, about that. That's all I can think of right now. Yeah, so I take these little elixirs in the morning, with warm water. They say warm water um, relaxes your GI tract and provides better absorption, especially the first thing of the day. Yeah, so I know at least in the morning upon starting that I get hydrated. Yeah, keep hydrated, people. So you flush everything out. Yeah. So that's what I did so far. And I feel pretty good. I went to bed relatively early last night. I did the video before I went to bed, and um, I think I slept through. Yeah, so I feel pretty good about that. It does make a difference. And what else? Yeah. So um, let's see now. Yeah, what I want to talk about. Well, anyway, happy Wednesday, Hump Week. Today is December 1st, 2021. The time right now is 4:52 a.m. I love this time of day. Yes, good morning out there, viewers. Yes, I see we got a visitor. Good morning. Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good right now. Hello, Wednesday, beautiful Wednesday. And yeah, in a couple of days from now, on December 5, I will be the big 59 years old. Yep, I'll be 59 years old. And may I have a beautiful, beautiful birthday. Um, don't really have anything really deeply planned. Probably, what is the purpose of my life? Who are these orbs? Why were they visiting? What do they want to say? What is it all about? And I was thinking, what if I am what they call sentinels? Remember, there's a movie that came out a lot like, in the 1970s. It was called The Sentinel, and it came to my memory a couple of months ago. That movie, and it was at the end of the movie. This older man, uh, he lived in one of these old houses, and it's by a window in the attic. And it was his time to sit in the chair and to look out the window like he was awaiting something. It just resonated with me. And plus, I have problems with my neck and have to keep my neck straight. So, like before, with my bed position in the perpendicular, I had to turn my neck all the way to look out the window. So, this way, I don't have to turn my neck and just look straight. And it's better for my neck. So, that's why I did it in this room and the other room to keep my neck from these weird positions. So it add more healing because I have neck problems now because of the computer. Oh, my neck just cracked. Wow. Oh, you heard that? Yeah. 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 You when you get older, your joints do make noise. It does. It does, people. So you have to be proactive with your life, with your health when you get older. Drink that water to keep your joints hydrated. Yeah, and just to flush everything out, keep things moving, keep the blood thin and active. So I started thinking, what if I'm a sentinel and here on this planet as a watcher? Yeah, to be a watcher and observer of what's going on. So I said, that resonates with me. I said, I don't know whether the bed could fit in this position, but let me try it. And it worked out. And I love it. I like it. So, what else now? So, if I'm a watcher, I'm also a watcher of current events. Yes. So, what do you mean about with the current events? Well, um, I think very strongly, my whole nature has been one of observation. I don't mean like a weirdo or something, a voyager. I don't mean that in any any way. But all my life, I wondered what my purpose in life was, and I would say it started when I was 6 years old in the classroom, and I didn't know, like I feel like I just woke up one morning and not knowing really why I was in this room. It was my kindergarten class. I thought it was kindergarten, but the record say it was the first grade. But I remember because the door said kindergarten. But I was 6 years old, and I just had a loss of, I didn't know what things were. I had no recollection of why I was in this room. And what's weird about it, because you might be saying, "What do you mean you don't know where you were?" I mean, I know I was in a classroom, with other little students, and I had been in a school prior to this one. Well, a couple of years ago, I got copies of my school records. Yes, people, you too could get copies of your school records. See, I went to my elementary school a couple of years back. I'd say, "Yeah, I would like to get copies of my school records." They said, "Oh, we don't hold them here. I mean, we don't have them anymore. We only required to have them for 10 years, and that's it." And I knew that couldn't be the case. I know that they cannot destroy records because, see, I know that when you apply for certain occupations, government jobs, high level government jobs, they have access to your school records. They want to know what your school records are, even at kindergarten and first grade. So I contacted in writing the Board of Education and I requested my file. I said, I want my entire elementary school to all of high school. It took, I think, about a month and a half or so. I got in writing a notice. It said we need proof of your ID, of who you are. So they said send a photocopy of your driver's license. So I did that and other things, and then I get it in the mail. And it did indicate, I didn't know I was going to talk about this because this is going to lead into current events and what's going on and why this awareness is so important to me. And it should be for everybody else's life too. For them, for you too, to be aware, to be a watcher, not a voyager, but a watcher of, awareness of what's going on around you. You know, so I did see that I think it was the first school. I was out according to school records, it was the records show that it's first grade, but to my understanding, that was kindergarten. But either way, um, they said that I was out for let's say it's 200 days of school. I'm just throwing out a number. It said I was out 100 days, so I was out 50% of the time. For whatever reason, they transferred. I was transferred to my neighborhood school, and I guess to be closer to home, they didn't want me to be, um, transported to a school out of my district. So, yeah, so why would they indicate that I was absent when it's a school strike? I don't know how long the school strike was, but it was in uh, Brooklyn, the teacher strike. It was in Brooklyn. I lived in Queens. So was this a global New York City teacher strike, or was it just um, for Brooklyn? And if it was just Brooklyn, why was I out? Okay, I don't know. I don't have answers for that. So I think by the time I got to the second school and in the classroom, um, because I wasn't educated, I didn't know what anything was. I didn't know what simple things in the school in the classroom was. Just certain things. It always bothered me. Um, I know what it is now, of course, but I would say at that point in time is when my life changed. Everything, the my feeling of not understanding certain things, like in a daze. But prior to that, I mean, I remember the classroom. It was in the other school. It was an integrated school, the other one, because of the BUSING. So yeah, and it was okay, and we had cookies and milk. I like that. I remember they used to give us B vitamins in drop form. They have us take it. It was positive. I didn't have that. I was with other little kids, and I had no. I didn't feel like that I didn't belong. And also, so I get to the new school, and I felt they had me sit. Um, yeah, they had me sit in a separate table from all the other kids. I was a well behaved kid. They had me in a round table, and they had like puzzles and children's books for my entertainment. And see, so let's say now if it was a teacher's strike, those other kids wouldn't know, wouldn't have been educated either, right? If they were out 50% of the time because of the teacher's strike, but they were allowed to sit with the other kids. They all sat together, and I was the only one in the classroom. Um, my back was turned to the from the other, the teacher and the students. And then they had gotten a second kid, a real trouble. He was a guy. I um, he was highly troubled, and he was violent. And they had me sit with them. Yeah, he came later because I was by myself, and then they had him sit at the little round table. I have no understanding why I was segregated from the rest of the class. And then this is a black. The new school, which is in my neighborhood, was a black school. Okay, and but I have no reason why, no explanation. And back then, kids were to be silent and not talk. You were just there to sit and shut up. Yeah, to this day. And boy, even the more I think about it, it doesn't make sense. Because I started school with everybody else in that school. Started day one, But just one day, I like kind of like woke up, so to speak, in the classroom and not having any sense of why I was there. And always felt lost. So, excuse me. So I start to think of that was the beginning, I would say, of awareness, not like walking around in a haze, like what's going on in this world. Uh, I saw a black man getting arrested by a white cop. That always lasted on me. I was in some building, and I remember looking out the window, and I see that, and the guy looked very sad. The black suspect. And I knew even back then, I might have been 5 or 6 years old, and I didn't understand what was going on, but it troubled me from that point in my life. I knew something wasn't right, even back then as a kid. And I didn't know about racism. I didn't know. My family has different colors, so I don't understand things, stupidness like that. So that's what really characterized my life. Like it was an introduction. Something was introduced to me, and I have no memory why. I didn't know. I The records didn't indicate why I was out, or nothing. Um, no explanation. So I feel something happened. I feel something happened in my life, and it would explain. If I only knew, it would really explain, I think, a big part of my life in soul searching, you know. So either way, for this happy Wednesday, December 1st, 2021. So where does this conversation lead to for today? Well, I was watching a commercial, like you go on YouTube and you get these commercials. I saw a very interesting commercial, and it was the second of its kind that I saw. But I have to preface that my intent in sharing what I want to share is not to insult people who are from a different group than I am, but it's just an awareness that I see politically, and that you have a right to do what you want to do as it pertains to your education also. Wow, it's something. It all blends in. What we're going to talk about. Here, I had no idea I was going to even mention about my schooling. And again, what is that schooling about? Education. And grooming children to become certain things. I realized I was groomed to really not do anything. And I feel like almost like I was tinkered with, that I was tinkered with to do and act just the way that I act in hindsight. Um, yeah, you can do a lot of things. You can try to be proactive, but somehow that programming kicks in, and you try to go 2 steps forward, but you go 3 steps backwards, right? For that was a big part of my life. So, anyways, what was this commercial I saw? And again, I preface that it's not to um, um, offend anybody, but I am aware, almost like that sentinel that I mentioned. What is the sentinel? The sentinel is a watcher, watches for signs that are out there in the world to alert others. And that is my point of this, to alert others. So, what was this commercial? Again, it's the second of its kind that I saw. The first time was a lady speaking. This one that just the video a commercial I saw maybe 2 days ago had a man, and I thought it was just very up in your face without actually saying it. It was a young Asian man, maybe early 30s or something, and he teaches a class. You have to probably pay for it, but it's a class to prepare you for personal excellence. It was an East Asian man, and he pretty much talked in code. Yes, he talked in code. And again, I have no problems with people from East Asia. I went to people from East Asia. Uh, they were friends of mine. I had them in my home, but when I was growing up with my folks, we socialized. The politics. Okay, these were friends. I had them in my parents' home. We socialized. We got along because our personalities were very similar. We were very quiet, small frame, and they had their families also. I noticed that people who I associated with, in general, they had both parents at home. Many people, the ones that didn't seem to have both parents living at home, uh, they weren't really in my circle. So all my uh, friends that I was in closer contact with, they all had both parents at home. So we had that in common. Um, but the commercial now, getting back to the commercial, now it was um, an East Asian looking man. He's speaking in code about the importance of school. Um, what I mean that he talked in code. See, he didn't outright say that the school is for other Asian kids, but all the people that they had in the video, like he did like a voiceover, and when the voiceover came on and you're seeing the video, they showed like a classroom of all Asian people. Okay, but so he's saying it without saying it. And I thought almost that it was humorous because it was so obvious. But he has his right. There is nothing wrong with promoting your own. Okay, this is that's what you call an intelligent person. See, intelligent people want to support their own, want to encourage their own, want to promote community. I am all for that, regardless of your race, religion, nationality, orientation of any form. I respect that. I respect what the individual's doing or saying in the video. And I think my chuckling a little bit while watching it because it was so up in your face. And his desire for personal excellence academically. He said, I don't want you to be, I have to paraphrase, I don't want you to be a good student. I want you to have a career. Yeah, it makes a difference. Anyone could be a good student. His thing was not, I want you to get just good grades in school. He wants you to have a career. See, the schooling is just one phase of life. He's interested in postgraduate. Once you graduate, what are you going to do with what you learned? He wants you to have a career. I never heard that concept. What a really intelligent man to say that. I am very impressed with him. And so they showed. He said, wait, he said something like, he was comparing different things. He says, come on, it's buffering. Sorry, guys. Come on, let's go. Okay, sorry about that. It's buffering again. But okay, so he sounds so arrogant, like a slight arrogance to to what he was saying. He says, okay, you got these two schools, Harvard versus Brown. He says, now, of course, you're going to choose Harvard. He says, I guarantee, you taking my class, that you will get into the top, I think the top 10 schools in the country. Something like that. I said, wow. Yeah, he should then showing a list of all the top schools, like Stanford and I think Berkeley and all these, Columbia University, all these Ivy League schools. So to him, it wasn't that he was making distinction within a distinction. You have top schools, and then you have like the top 10 schools in the country. The U.S. has tons of good schools, but he wanted you to have even within the Ivy League schools to be in the lead in those top 10 schools in the nation. And then they showed the classroom of all these students. The video was, the camera was showing the students from the rear, from behind them, to, I guess, to um, cover the identity of the people, to give the people their privacy, but that's what it showed. It showed, but they slightly, you saw slight of the face, the side of the face, and you could see that they're all Asian kids. They were from South Asia and East Asia types. The classroom was packed with people. He said, "I give you the cutting edge and this and that." I mean, he was he spoke with such confidence and arrogance that the importance to distinguish yourself, he said, from the grade 6 to grade 12. Let me tell you this, to my kind of like shame, and this is just a wake up call too. Um, See, this man was so aware of the importance of getting started early. Even though I come from, family of people who were teachers, I wasn't, um, I did not focus on academics. I was not an academic person. I'm being honest. I was about staying alive. The schools I went to were extremely violent. When I mean violence, I mean in fist fights. It was physical violence. And so my early education, there was no education because kids were just fighting each other all day. And so the only thing that I was really taught was you better behave or else. So I became a pro at being quiet and being behaved. That was, and I thought it was a success. Thinking about my life, I didn't have any career development at the 6th grade. There was nothing like that. So what does all this mean for today? Well, what this all means today, and the urgency of this man in the video that I saw maybe 2 days ago, that what's happening today? Well, I live in New York City, and who in general, gets into these top schools, top high schools in New York City are people from Asia. There's such a disproportion, and you have to take an exam to get into these schools and do well and get accepted. They do want to keep the schools diverse, what we call diversity, but who generally gets in it? Diversity is a code name for several things in New York City. Diversity could also include I call the alphabet soup students, you know. Um, and then you have, of course, racial minorities. But who doesn't seem to be really getting into these schools are Black and Hispanic children. It's overwhelmingly Asian. And I remember seeing in another video, no, I'm sorry, this was an advertisement in the subway, the train, and it showed an East Asian kid saying, "Oh, you guys should go to such and such place, and you don't have to feel uncomfortable that you're the only one. There are a lot of people just like me at the school." What are they saying? Well, they're saying, without saying it, is that a lot of these East Asian kids in particular are being physically abused by the bigger kids. And we know who the bigger kids usually are. I'm saying it, you just use your imagination. So if you're usually always the tiny one and the bigger people are abusing you, and so without really saying it, they're saying that there's a discriminate, what do you call it? There's biasness against being an Asian kid, which is true. I've seen it growing up. The tiny Asian children are picked on, whether they're from East Asia or South Asia. Like let South Asia would include like India and Pakistan. Okay, yeah, and I've personally seen it, but mostly I see they don't like the South Asian kids, but it's really targeting both. It's really addressing both groups: East Asia, like Chinese and Koreans, and then South Asian, like India and Pakistan. That type of phenotype. So they're in the media now, and they're discussing, hey, um, why be in a negative environment? Come to our schools here so you can learn and advance and get into top schools. Now, I commend them for saying that. I mean, I commend them because they're taking action over their life. They're being I like that, being proactive. But at the same time, I'm a little sad. He said, why am I a little sad? Well, because that they're taking action to improve their lot, to improve their future, but the group that really needs to be doing what they're doing, they're not doing. Black Americans aren't doing that. You don't see advertisement. Hey, you don't want to be um, in an environment where there's just fighting. You don't want to be picked on because you value education. Hey, let's have a school for us to be um, safe and to excel academically. Blah 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 blah. I've never seen that. We're on the bottom when it comes to education. We don't read on grade level. Most of us are in remedial classes in New York City. Yeah, remedial classes. And remedial doesn't mean like to simplify. It means to just don't even teach you anything, what you need to learn to get the Regents exam. They're not preparing black children for the Regents exam to get a Regents diploma. They're just passing them along. And this saddens me. It saddens me that here you have something called Black Lives Matter, but Black Lives Matter is not addressing about the schools. See, when Trump, yes, I'm a pro-Trump person. Well, I'm a pro, um, doing the right thing. I'm pro protecting your country. That's what I support with Trump. I mean, he's not a perfect man, and some of the things he says I don't agree with. But what I do agree with is America first, and about I liked his platinum plan. He had a platinum plan for Black America, but yet they're calling him a racist. He's no more racist than any other person in white person in politics. He had a plan to correct the injustices in Black America. I didn't see Obama do that. He didn't do a damn thing. Yes, I speak this way, and I hope people hear me when I say this. He's not a perfect man, but at least he had a plan, and um, he was going to have vouchers for the students, Trump, so that any kid could go, get that education. He had it. He wanted an open, to be able to enroll in schools. He didn't want any hindrance for people of all people to get an education, and that's not being done. So, why isn't Black Lives Matter focusing on the nurturing and the education of Black people? And I also include West Indian people also, regardless of what language grouping, because you have Hispanics that are from the West Indies, like Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic. Those are the largest Hispanic groups. But you have many Hispanics from like Mexico too, and other places. Um, yeah, you have all types of people, and they're not doing well. They're not doing well. But somehow you have a student that could be from another country, speak a foreign language, could parents can't even speak English, but yet this kid it used to be almost like a joke that someone from they usually use Koreans or Chinese when they say this story that they came from these countries and they become the valedictorian of the school. Valedictorian, that's the number one graduate. So here they were able to overcome a language barrier, and those languages are completely different from English, and be the top student. I was in a college once. I went to this college that I did graduate from, and they had a Chinese student. She was an older lady. Yeah, me and the other lady were the older ones in the classroom. Yeah, I had uh, re-entered college late in life, and she could have been in her 40s or 50s. And she was talking to me that she lives in Chinatown. She's a Chinese lady living in Chinatown, and she shared with the class how those Chinese students how they get to do so well in school. She says the parents invest all their money to educate their kids, and on weekends they have tutors because see the parents don't speak English. So but they want the kid to still do well, so they get tutors for them. So they pull all their money together and get tutors for their children. Now these people that come in, they're not wealthy people, they're poor. You living in Chinatown, it's a lot of poverty there. People, in cramped living quarters. It's not glamorous there, Chinatown, but they have community there. They have a lot of businesses, and a lot of the people they do whatever work necessary, to pay the rent and to make sure they have just enough so they could educate their kids with the tutors, and so they excel. This is what she's telling us. I appreciate her sharing that with the class. So I don't hear black people saying that or doing that for their children. You see all these kids hanging outside, want to look cool. They're spending money on their sneakers and things like that, blah, blah, blah. So, what does all this have to do for today? Okay. Um, So there's a distinction between what you value in life. You have one segment of a population that is just about show and just in the now, and then you have another group that wants to invest in the future. Okay, it makes a difference. So you have now kids dominating the top schools, and what's also happening. And this alarms me. I did address this issue a couple of years ago. There is what's called affirmative action, and affirmative action historically it was designed. Yes, it the civil rights era was prompted by the black population, but it included anyone with minority status. That includes white women. That includes Asians, or all different groups of non-white people. Okay, they all benefited from affirmative action, and so now, well, overwhelming people who are accepted into the top programs seem to be from people from Asia. Yes, they are minorities, but they pretty much the majority in these top programs in colleges. So they have this quota within a quota, or I should say affirmative action within an affirmative action. And so they're required to have uh, a certain number of blacks in the program. And so they really want to try to get blacks into these schools. But they're finding it hard to have the credentials to get in these schools, and that they're allowing them blacks to have a smaller average. Let's say you have two candidates, a person from China versus a black American, and usually the Chinese kid would have a higher academic score than the black kid. So he can score a little lower average. I would imagine you have to have at least something. You know, you're not gonna be a C. Have a D average and you're applying for Harvard. You have to have a little something to even want to apply to a school like that. You know what I'm saying? So they were um, accepting the black kid into the program, even though another candidate did better. And so they were not complaining that it's reverse discrimination, that they're being discriminated. In essence, they are accurate about that. They are actually accurate. That another student got favored over another student. But the whole point of affirmative action is to equal the wrongs of what society did to a particular group. So the affirmative action is not to exclude black people, because black people are the ones that initiated the whole thing called affirmative action. And yes, you should be qualified for that program. Yes, you would want um, top students in all backgrounds. I wouldn't want to get into a program because strictly because of affirmative action. I mean, I want to have the credentials to get in. You know. So yeah, someone just hung up already. But hear me out though. This is not about poor me. Poor black people. No, you should have the average to get into a program that you want. But to know that there are things that are being done socially against the people. Yeah, there are things that are socially being done within groups, that blacks are harassed socially. Um, in what way are blacks targeted? Media. You watch TV shows and it shows blacks in a negative light. The schools that they go to, They have inferior learning. There's no learning in classroom. It's just fighting and killings in some of these classrooms, gangs. So the things, what I call now, bumps on the road to distract black children from getting a fair education. Um, they're targeted by police. You're not treated equally under the law. Just what I mentioned a couple of days ago. Um, there was a white woman um, resisting arrest, and I reported to the police that this lady was hit me hard on in my heart, my chest, where my heart was, and that she attacked an elderly black man also, but he didn't want to hear it. So the lady, the lady in question, they put her in the ambulance first. They didn't put me in the ambulance first. They put her in the ambulance first. Yet I'm the one that got hit. They were to drive her to a mental ward because she was under the influence of some type of chemical. I think she was drunk. She started throwing up. Um, it took four cops to subdue her. Four cops, and they were really gentle with her. They didn't want to hurt her. And then I've seen things with my own eyes where the lady in question was a big boned lady. And then I saw an incident with a tiny black fellow. He could have been maybe 5 feet 3, 5 feet 4, and tiny, skinny, real skinny. And they grabbed his head and then they rammed it on the sidewalk like a coconut. I kid you not. The cops act differently according to your race. And if they see that you're a black person resisting arrest, they're going to get you. Now, this white lady, she was a big bone white lady. Took four cops to subdue her, yet they didn't arrest her. They only brought her to the hospital. And guess what, people? She was right in front of me yesterday when I was going home. I kid you not. Somehow she is in my neighborhood now. The attack happened in a different neighborhood. She was 2 blocks away from my home, right in front of me, directly across the street. I was afraid. She didn't hit me. She looked right at me, and I'm looking at her, but she kept on going. I don't think she recognized me. I was wearing something completely different. I had my stroller, so I just kind of looked like a different person to her, I think. But that's what happened. Just yesterday, the incident, the assault happened last week Wednesday. Yeah, on the 24th. That's when it happened to me. The beating, she hit me hard. Yeah, I took 2 days off and stayed at home to recuperate from the getting hit in my chest. When you hit someone in their heart area, you can cause cardiac arrest. And then the police called it harassment. They said it's not an assault, it's considered harassment. There was no blood, so it's harassment. Could you believe that? Well, today I'm going to go get a copy of yeah, they had a hard, yeah. I'm not going to rehash the story regarding the report, um, the report that was written by the COP. Yeah, that you could see on your, you know, on your own time with that, because I don't want to rehash it. So people are treated differently according to your race, your nationality. Um, they don't harass Asian people here in New York City. They're actually protected. But yes, over the summer, they were being attacked. Yeah, they were. Physically attacked East Asian people. It was horrible. Horrible. And I spoke out against it too. Sorry. Yeah, do unto others that you want others to do to you. That's what I live by. I don't have to love somebody, like someone, love somebody, but what I do love is fairness. I want to live an integrity-filled life. That's me. I'm on a spirit journey, and I'm learning, and I'm far from perfect. I'm far from perfect, but I truly believe in my heart. And I've always felt this way to do the right thing, do the right thing, people. So I notice now, well, this was a real challenging year. You had the Asian beating. That seemed to subside now. Um, but again, trying to link in that video that I saw of promoting education within the Asian community, um, I started thinking, and I mentioned about this before in a past video. What's really going on? Like, how is it that um, the program, the, you have people from foreign born many times that are being accepted into these programs? Shouldn't a country want to protect its own citizens to get into these programs? You go to Germany, and those Germans are in those schools. They're not that stupid. Germany for Germans, and they're gonna promote people in jobs that are from their own. You go to a school, you're gonna have German people in the school programs. Why is it in this country that local people, people who are born and raised here, are not being really sought to do these jobs? Like Manhattan, you have a lot of people, blacks and Hispanics, but they're not being groomed for these jobs here in the city. They're getting foreign born people now, and again, this is not an anti foreigner rant, it's just an observation. If I were in their country, I go to China, there are going to be Chinese people in those schools, right? You go to India, you're going to find Indian people in the school programs of theirs. Why is it in America, where you have a large number of black populations, how come they don't dominate the education system of these top programs? And that they're recruiting people from other countries and bringing them into the US, allowing them in the US. Well, I think there's something behind this. And it's not just something that just started a year ago. I started to really search within. And again, my saying this is not to be disparaging on any group. You work hard, you should be able to go into a school of your choice. Okay? But it's just, how is it such? Um, I believe it's part of the social engineering. I believe after the Civil Rights Act, see, they do a tit for tat, and the 50s and the through the 70s was the buffering again. Sorry for the buffering. They gave you a false sense of comfort that black people were going to be respected, but this was just the beginning of the game. What this did to the black community was to open up the door for immigration, because again, it was at one time uh, people from Asia were discriminated against for entering into the US. But now all of a sudden in the 1970s, they were allowed entry. And this was done, in my opinion, this is just an opinion, this was a social engineer response against the Civil Rights Act. They said, okay, we worded the Civil Rights Act in a certain way, which means all minority. It did not specify black people. See that? It did not specify black people. It said you cannot discriminate based on race, color, etc. So this, they say, okay, we don't want you to be educated because if you get too educated, you'll do well, you'll compete with us for homes, pricey homes and everything, and we don't want you to move up. We're going to get a qualified minority. We're going to recruit them into the country, and we're going to make sure that the police don't harass them. So they're given a clear path to success. So they brought them in by masses, people from all over the world, with minority status, and they excel. And in these countries that they're coming from, they know poverty. Some of these places, they don't have heat or hot water. They don't have indoor plumbing. They don't have electricity, and they may not have really food or medicines. But they know and they're motivated to do well. So I said, wow, we have an opportunity to come to America. Well, we're going to use all our resources to excel, and they excel. They know true poverty. I don't think Americans really know true poverty. Some people here might think they're poor because they don't have the latest brand sneaker or bling bling. Okay, these other people know starvation. Okay, difference and different motivation. So they're accepted in the program because they qualify for the status minority, plus they excel academically. That is essential. And so if you keep bringing in new minority groups, then the number of black candidates into the program is getting smaller and smaller, and they're not as academic. The black schools are not as academic. They're not being groomed for academic success. They're not being groomed to be college bound. So you have school districts that are college bound. Makes a difference. You are not groomed. And so you have the disproportionate number of candidates in these programs. I did volunteer work a couple of years back in a hospital, and they take a photo of the uh, incoming interns, and they didn't have any American black looking people. They had East Asian looking people, South Asian looking people, and Europeans. That's who was in the photo. And a person that I worked with, I was a volunteer, but she was, the other lady was staff. And she said what I was thinking. How come there are no black people in this photograph? Okay. So, well, again, I think it's all part of social engineering that started in the 1970s, 40 something years ago, planned to um, discriminate, to prevent black people from moving up, and by using other minorities. See, you're not going against the law if you all the candidates, that you have X number of minorities coming in. But now it's like most of the people are from that background who are getting in, and people started complaining. So now they have to have an affirmative action within an affirmative action, and the Asian kids are getting angry at blacks for getting to a program that they deserve to get in. And yes, they do deserve to get in. They do. They do deserve to get into the program, these Asian kids. And so, what some of them are doing, well, there was a report, and I did a video on this. There was a South Asian kid, a dark skinned fellow from South Asia, and he did admit that he slacked in high school. but it was really too late to pull up his GPA. But he wanted to get in this top school. And what he did was he lied on his application. He said that he was a black person. Yeah, his skin is black, but he's an Asian kid from India. And he lied, said he was black. And everything else was about his academics. He knew as an Asian he wouldn't be accepted into the program, even competing with other Asians. Because he didn't have the GPA, but he figured correctly that if he applied the program as a black person, he'll probably get in. And he was accepted in. But it was found that he lied, and so he was kicked out the program for lying. And then he does a video to slam black people and that black people are being favored. And I said to myself, wait a minute. You admit that you slacked in your. Come on. Come on, people. Sorry, it's buffering again. Come on. Come on. It's buffering. I don't know whether you can hear me. The number is not, the counter is not. Okay. It's going back on again. Sorry for the buffering. See, he doesn't want me to get this out. So he in anger, uh, badmouthed black people on video. And I felt it wasn't fair. You know what you did was wrong, and you lie. When you lie on any application, even a job application, they can fire you and they can kick you out of the program. And for him to know that the bulk of the students in the program are Asians, and to not allow an American black to at least get a chance at getting into a good program. I said to him, shame on him for lying, and shame on him that here you have black people who open the door for all minorities to enter. Minorities of all types they were discriminated in entering the country. But the Civil Rights Act opened doors for everybody, opened doors for white women and people of color. And to then lie and say you're a member of the group that helped you get into the country and to get into schools to be able to live in certain neighborhoods. So I felt it was disrespectful. Okay. Um, but yeah, I do agree that people should get in according to their abilities, but to give respect for who opened doors for you. So it showed contempt for black people who actually opened doors for you. That's all I have to say about that. But what does all this have to do with this video? Okay, and what I mentioned earlier about the what do you call it? The commercial that I saw of a young Asian man um, have it, to say it without saying, we have a prep school, like a preparatory thing for Asian people of all types, all Asian people to become even better groomed. They're already, and he said, you're already doing good, but we want you excellent. We want you beyond excellent, not just being a good student. We want you to have a career. I thought that was amazing. Yes, it's not about just getting into a good college. It's about getting a career in the field of your choice. And that was amazing that he had that insight to say that. He wanted you to go beyond the Ivy League school. He wanted you to be someone, have a career, be someone. Yeah, yeah, he didn't stop there. And so, yeah, so what does this, okay, so the next phase of this conversation I'm giving, okay, so you have a large, disproportionate number of people from certain places in the world who are now, upon graduating, are getting top jobs. How now? I thought when you go to a school, you're a foreign student. How is it that they are allowed to stay in the school? I mean, stay in the country. I thought you have to go back home. If you're a foreign student, foreign exchange student, you have to go back home to your country. Well, that's not happening, and they're being accepted in these programs. And I start thinking, okay, like with China. Now, I noticed a couple of years ago. See, I noticed change. I noticed patterns and things. This is not about slamming anybody. It's just about awareness. Everything what I'm saying now is about things that I'm aware what's happening in front of me. Just like when I was a little girl at 6 years of age, I noticed there was something different, an awareness that I started having. You know, um, so so you have this pandemic. See, I heard early on um, with this pandemic that happened now for almost 2 years now. Um, there were two students from uh, China. They said they were from China. They were at Harvard University, and it just seems like Harvard University has been mentioned a lot, like with the Jeffrey Epstein, the sex trafficker, and he was involved with genetics, at the genetic science, and it was Harvard University that was involved. Well, there was Harvard University that was involved with this pandemic. The students, it was reported, the two Asian students had taken the samples of the virus and brought it over to China. And I believe that this plan of taking over. No, and again, this is not an anti-Chinese thing that I'm saying, but it is a Chinese Communist Party, the CCP is what I'm targeting here. The CCP I'm talking about, not talking about the average everyday Chinese person here. I'm talking about the CCP, and that I believe what's happening by the things I see, that the country is being infiltrated by people working under cover of the CCP, that's the Communist Chinese Party, that are infiltrating the schools. The Communist Party, in my understanding, I'm not communist or socialist, but I believe what's happening, um, the Communist Party uh, studies its enemies. They study people. They study sociology, psychology of its people, and that they study American history. They study um, the the racial climate of America, and I believe that they are exploiting that knowledge, and so um, they know, hey, let's get the best of the best from our country, from China, and bring them into the U.S. and infiltrate everything. Because again, you have to have diversity, and you cannot discriminate based on race. And you have the affirmative action. You you know, have to have X number of minorities in the program. So they say, hey, yeah, we're going to bring them over to America. We're going to spread them all over, and we're going to have them all in technology. How is that they only major in one thing, one type of thing that you have? Yeah, they also are in economics too. So then, yeah, I had a tutor from China. She got into the U.S. I guess an exchange student. She was a nice lady. She was an economics major, um, and many of them in science and engineering. How come you don't have? How is it that? How is it just that? Why those majors? How is that they are choosing uh, fields that could generate a lot of money? Why aren't black people being groomed for engineering also? I'm just saying. But either way, they're getting these programs and they're being hired. I was a security guard once at a bank, a major American bank. Not going to give the name of the bank. And they were ladies. I think there were 8 ladies, 7 or 8 ladies, and half of them were white, and the other half were from East Asia. They were very, very well groomed. These ladies, yes, very, very formally dressed. Business attire, executive business attire. These were like interns, and I was told that they were to come upstairs and to have them wait in the lobby. And they all looked like clones of each other. They wore the same outfit basically. Very well night, very, very well dressed. I mean, I was impressed. These were the top students of something. I guess getting into banking. How is it that in all of New York City, I how is it that you just have black, I mean, I'm sorry, white and Asian, East Asian? And New York City has a whole bunch of Hispanics, has a whole bunch of black people. How is it that all these people were excluded from this? What program is this? You have to start one. This is part of the social engineering, people. This is what I'm getting at. That racism isn't just about racism. What's happening, in my opinion, is social engineering to get certain people in programs so they could control it, so that they can control it. So communist China, uh, Korea, I mean, only South Korea is not communist, but can someone from North China, North Korea, enter into South Korea, and then from there come to the U.S., infiltrate the system, right? How what's going on? Yeah, and also it was a couple of years ago. Like there weren't that many people um, in the in this neighborhood. I live in a very diverse neighborhood, but one day I saw a whole group, and they just stood out. They were from East Asia looking, and then next thing I know, they're in my building, and but a large number in one moment, and they were in the lobby. Now the building is filled with people from this region of the world, and nothing wrong being from any part of the world. Okay, um, how do they get the money to enter to live in this building as a new arrival, as a new graduate? In fact, my next door neighbor in my apartment unit is from based on his his looks and his accent, uh, suggests that he's from China. But look what happened. Now I was entering my apartment unit. I had my large stroller, and I was trying to, when I was going down the hall, I see him, a new person. So I said hello. I said good afternoon. He doesn't say anything right away. And then I put the key in the door, ready to enter my apartment. And then he walks over. He says, "Excuse me, I want to ask you something." And it was very hard to understand him because he had a very, very heavy accent. But when I finally understood what he was saying, because I had him repeat it 4 times, he asked me, "Are you? Did you get your apartment with the going market price, or you get government subsidized?" I said, excuse me? I said, that is a personal question. I don't go walk up to people and ask them about their finances. He said, oh, I'm sorry, and walked away. You heard me right, people. You're going to be a foreigner, just probably maybe just came to the US or something, or maybe he just graduated, had a heavy accent, seemed like a newcomer in the country, and you're going to, um, you're new in the building, you just moved in, and I said hello or good afternoon. That's all. Yeah, I said good morning. It was morning. Yeah, I said good morning, and that was it. Just try to be friendly. And that's the first thing he said, and the only thing he said. He didn't say good morning back, but he wanted to know my financial status. Isn't that personal? Why get in my why do that? Why would you do that? Well, something's up. The new people that they have move into my building. I live in a very nice building, a high-rise building. Very nice, very modern building. It's about 20 years old, the building. But I asked myself, how is it that all the new people, virtually, I would say 70 something percent of the people who are entering my building are all from Asia? What are they doing to be able to afford the rent here, being someone that you just arrive, you just graduate? How is that you are able to economically be able to afford that? Now again, it's really none of my business. Again, just like it wasn't their business about what I'm paying for my unit, or if it's a subsidy or the market value, it's none of his business. Just like it's none of my business how they afford their education. But pretty much how it basically goes, they're getting accepted into the um, programs. The different, like, I used to work in finance. I worked in many industries. I used to, my primary industry was banking. And they often had me work in legal departments. And I remember they had someone from Korea, a young woman. She moved to the U.S. when she was 5, and yeah, she majored in she was high. What do you call it? What do you call it? The people who assist the lawyers, para something. I forget the name, but you know what I'm talking about. The people who assist the lawyers. You're not a lawyer, but you assist them. They paid her good money. Yes, they did. Now, how is that? And how is it that um, I knew someone at the company, an American, a black American woman. She started before I did. I was also to assist her as well. Very nice lady, and she was being overlooked for advancement. I bumped into her years later. I didn't stay there long. I left the company because um, I didn't like its politics that it was doing. Um, I felt vulnerable that something was going to happen, and I'm the type of person, if sense I get out. I get out of the way. So I left it to go to school, to do a career change. I said I don't want to stay in finance anymore. I don't like banking. And some years later, I bumped into the lady. They said she had a really fight to just get her VP status, vice president. Yeah, they overlook certain people. They don't want you to advance. They only had one black person, two blacks. They had one lawyer, black lawyer, and somehow they seemed to be of the alphabet soup type. And then they had a very light skinned black person. He wasn't a lawyer, but he did office work. He was a nice fellow also, and that was it. I noticed in private business, what do you call it? The private business world. They don't like black men working next to white people, white men. That's what I noticed in my years working in private industry. That was common. That they do not have black men working next to a white man. It's like they intimidate them. I mean, the whites feel intimidated by them. So that's why a lot of times they get the what what looks like an alphabet soup type of person. They don't get an alpha black male. They're not going to hire those types. So I think that's also what's happening in New York City. That the men that are being hired are all the alphabet soup type people. You know, the LGBTQ, if you don't know what I mean. I call those the alphabet soup people. Somehow the straight black male gets excluded from everything, especially the private sector world. So if you have a black man working, they usually work for the civil service. So that means corrections office. Sorry, they deserve to fulfill their dreams too if they're here legally. Also, yeah, so I have to. Yeah, the other things I want to talk about. Yeah, New York City is also bringing in illegals. We have large number of illegal people, and I think this is also part of the social engineering. The social engineering that to usurp the efforts of Black America, the classroom. Now, if you have a classroom that's now crowded with people from other countries that are here illegally, I know of someone that even told me they were from Queens. They lived in Queens. They had a kid. They were to go to this elementary school. They said there were no books available for the students, and there weren't enough seats for the students. So she lied on her application to get. She had her kid be sent to a school in a different state, well, to live with relatives, and they go into their school system, which was a predominantly white school system, and it was a very stable community, economically. So that's what happened. The mother said, um, there are no books. How are you going to learn? So the area is filled with people from other countries. It's packed, and it wasn't going to happen. Education. So that's what she had felt she had to do. So I think this is also part of the social engineering. So if you cram a school room with people who don't speak English, um, how are you going to conduct a class? And let's say you're English speaking, and let's say you're the only English speaking student, you're not going to have friends. You're gonna be at a social disadvantage. It's designed just that, to make you feel socially disadvantaged, because the people that you're around, everybody's from somewhere else. And then the school program, it's not thriving. And again, um, how is it that you have, let's say, Latin America, what they call Latin America? Many of them are not getting to those top programs either, but they're being used to set up so that retail. A lot of these new groups from Latin America, they work in the restaurant industry, the food industry, and retail. And this is what was happening in New York City. They said, you need to be bilingual. You're not bilingual, black people, so we're not going to hire you. But yet they'll hire someone from Latin America who doesn't speak English. They don't have to learn English. And they could speak their language, their native tongue, and be employed. And I saw that happening. So again, this is again using this, the what the Civil Rights Act was to protect, It was to protect black people. But the Civil Rights Act does not specify black people. It said based on race, creed, color, etc. What the Civil Rights Act should have said to protect the lives of black people, black Americans, that to allow X number of people from that community in jobs that were historically closed off to us. That's where it went wrong. And it was deliberately, in my opinion, done this way because they knew in the 1970s they were going to open up the doors to immigration from countries that historically was closed off. Asia was closed off to America. Asia. It excluded people from South Asia and a big part from East Asia, but most I think South Asia. But it excluded all of them. So why is this? Well, I think it is tied in with the pandemic. See, it's a social engineering and warfare that's being done upon America. It's not just an act that's done against black people. It's done to destabilize all of America. But again, the tool to have it happen is via the black community. And once you infiltrate the black community, you're tapping into our resources economically. You're taking the money. So let's say you're from Asia or some other part of the world and you open up a business in a black neighborhood. You get our money because blacks aren't opening up businesses. They don't want us to open up businesses. And if you have a black business, they're usually from the West Indies, like Jamaica. Okay, that's in my experience in living in New York City. So they funnel the money that we do make, the ones that are lucky enough to have a job. Where do we spend our money? Well, there's really no black businesses here, and so all our money goes into these other people's communities, such as from Asia, and so they get stronger and stronger, and you get weaker, black folk. This is part of the game, I believe, in the social engineering to eventually overthrow America. So now that we're doing business, we go to the restaurants, the Chinese restaurants and stuff, we buy food and stuff. Um, they get richer. They're able to send their kids to the Ivy League schools. Yes, they do work hard and study, but now they have the resources because they're taking it from your community. There's the classrooms are crowded, so the black communities aren't learning, and it's designed to do that. And then you infiltrate the universities, like I mentioned with Harvard University, that in Harvard, remember the two Asian students who took the what do you call it, the pathogen, I'm going to call it a pathogen, and brought it to Wuhan, China. And the rest is history. And also, you had Dr. Fauci that also was working with the core gain of function. Gain of function is to do genetic engineering upon the viruses. And when it got found out, see, it's illegal to do that in this country. So he had them sent to Wuhan, China, and he funded the practice there, the experiment there in China. And then they released it to the public. It is biological warfare that's being done. Who's getting sick in this pandemic? A lot of black people. So again, it's exploiting black people, and our health condition is one of the most susceptible in the nation. Yes, we have the most co-mortality rates in America. So so this pandemic is also designed to as a bioweapon to kill off a population, but it's really designed to kill off everybody. But who it mostly kills off is people of black ancestry. Okay, um, and the infiltration of these institutions like Harvard University, they get into these Ivy League schools. They're also introducing these communist-like doctrines. Don't you see that happening? They are introducing communist philosophy, and it's being introduced to the black community. Look at the Black Lives Matter. It utilizes, in my opinion, a lot of things, a socialist slash communist uh, mindset. They're introducing that philosophy in the black community. The Chinese Communist Party, again, this is not about Chinese people, it's about the Communist Chinese Party, or the Chinese Communist Party, I should say. That's what I'm talking about. That it's not just the people, it's the party, and they study history. They studying people's societies and are infiltrating the school system. Every aspect, they're infiltrating the jobs. Look at those high-tech jobs. Who works in them? Who is being hired to work for places, the computer companies? Who's being hired? They're from other countries. They're not getting a lot of people from America, or they're getting first generation. And they're in sensitive positions. The universities, the science departments, the research, many of these people are from these countries. And they're quiet. This might explain why many are so quiet, because they're being stealth. They're getting their stronghold or grips over the country. They already acquired Canada. I talked about something like this a couple of years back when I watched this video on Canada. They bought out Canada. Why I think Canada now is pushing this pandemic. The average Canadian cannot afford to buy a home anymore because it's being bought out by the nouveau rich from Asia, from these communist countries in Asia. They're hoarding the property, and then they're making the market, waiting for the market to really, because it's really to acquire wealth and power. And once you acquire wealth and power and get into government, control the institutions, they take over. That is what happened to Canada, and that's what's happening in the U.S. We're being bought out. We are being bought out, and Gates is also behind it. So it's not just Asian, but Gates is part of this whole New World system, and having these countries buy out America to impose this this communist regime. I know this sounds weird, but it's all of one thing. This plan has been in development for over 40 years. Right after the Civil Rights Act, they knew that they wanted to do this change, and they knew who they were going to make the change through. Our weakest link. The weakest link is within the black community, where you can infiltrate. And they're infiltrating communists and manipulating the black community. They're destabilizing it through immigration and destabilize it because now you don't have the resources. And they destabilize it by open up shop in these black neighborhoods and not allowing blacks to build up industry within its community. You don't have it. You don't have industry. We used to have industry in the black community. When the country was segregated, black people lived in their own communities, white people lived in their communities, and there were schools in black communities. Blacks were learning. In my parents' generation, they went to college. My father graduated from college. He has all his credentials. He moved up the ladder. But within the civil service, again, they didn't hire blacks in private sector. Only if you like a janitor, something like that. They didn't hire. And when I first started out, they didn't have even Asian people working in the private sector. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, that was in early 80s. And then slowly you started getting more people from Latin America, and then um, in the higher up, then you start to get Asian. And forget about the technical jobs now. Now it's overwhelmingly Asia, and they're being groomed to fill these spots, whether they're foreign born or born in the United States. So Asia is going to be the new owners, the new landlords, so to speak, in America, and will be dominating over Black America. These are going to be your new bosses. These are going to be new people, the new landlords. These are going to be your doctors. These are going to be the people who you get your food from. These are going to be the people where you buy your groceries from. So you're just going to be like a slave, a type of slave. New York City, um, how it looks like how it's being set up. I know I'm saying a lot of things. This is just my observation, what I see, what's happening here in New York City. That these major buildings that you see, okay, the high-rise buildings, the residents, all Asian. Maybe I would say now, maybe 25% white, but all the rest are Asian. Because see now, see you can give, see a white American, you have to pay more. They don't want to pay you. Again, they want to, uh, the system wants to usurp Americans, and that includes white America. So even their numbers are decreasing in these jobs. Okay. Um, so it's a slow kill. So, what was the point I was going to give out? So it's a slow kill. They're going to use Hispanics, regardless of their race. They're going to have them continue doing the cooking, the restaurant work, delivering the food. Um, Black people, um, let's see, we're not even in those traditional jobs. The cooking, we early America, blacks did all the cooking. They don't want blacks in the cooking field. You have to pay black Americans more money. They don't want you in there. I used to also be in the cooking field for a couple of years, so I saw firsthand what was happening in their hiring practices, and they target black people who enter into the cooking field. They don't want you in there. The cooking field is closed off to black America, and it just allow immigrants, regardless where you're from. If you're non-black, you're open to enter the cooking field. What else? Well, they use the let's see, delivery food and stuff like that. They use the immigrants for that. Um, they're using blacks for the you know who's selling the drugs now? The weed. They have black people in these trucks. The weed truck. Yeah, I'm talking about the weed that you smoke. The drug. about that. Yeah. So they want to, they're placing blacks to do roles that are socially um, on the bottom. So it's just a stereotype image. They did legalize weed, but look who they have. The truck. I don't know who owns those trucks. I did take pictures of it before, um, in a video. The weed trucks. They're parked in areas where a lot of black people congregate. Be wary of those. I mean, be wary, people, about this drugs that's now legal to use. They have estrogen in those. That chemical weed has an estrogen, a natural estrogen in it. Oh, I should say an estrogen mimicking chemical, and it makes you act feminine. It can grow breast on men. Okay, it's high in estrogen and has chemicals and other chemicals that could be problematic. Don't you ever wonder why a lot of these black dudes in New York City, why they act like girls now? I kid you not. Am I lying, people out there? Am I lying? Go in New York City, and those people, you have the two types of black men in New York City, the drug dealer type and the soy boys, the guys that act like, dress like women, that type. That's all you see. You very rarely see a nice, middle class, well dressed black man. It's virtually extinct here. So you have the extreme, extreme people, in the community. Yeah, this is all social engineering. So if you think you're a girl now, do you think you'd be focused on really starting a family? So it's to disrupt the family planning, family development within the black community. So that's another way of sterilization. If you think you're a girl and you like other boys, you know what I'm saying? It's sterilization. It's birth control, a type of birth control. Yeah, be careful of these drugs that they're selling. I wouldn't trust anything in them. And you want to be of clear mind. How are you going to prepare your life? So I feel this is all part of the social engineering, and I think China and Gates, it's all working against the country, against the planet. They want a one world system under their rule. So this is a wake up call, in my opinion, to anybody who's out there who hears this. This video is not intended to offend people based on their race or orientation. This is just something that I am observing what's happening. And I love my country even though it's showing it doesn't love me. How could you say that you love me, America, if you allowed someone to punch me in my chest, take her away in an ambulance, and then let her out, and then classify what happened to me as harassment report, in a harassment, not a physical assault, but harassment. Okay, it's a cover up, and it's to allow people to try to intimidate other people. Here, I'm a veteran of the United States Navy. I'm a taxpayer. I'm native born New Yorker. I love my country. I love my country. I support the police to do good work, not to harass people. We need good police. So, being from the military, being, used to be in the military, I respect uniforms. I respect protocol. I'm not against violence. I'm not against corruption of any kind, and I expose that. I've always spoke out. Always, even when I was in the military, I always spoke out on injustices or if I saw things that weren't fair. That's my nature. I've always been this way. And sad that I'm not being supported by my own community when I speak out against things that are wrong that happen within my community, which is the black community. And I love my country. So I don't care where you're from. I care about what you do. I care about you, who it applies to, who is infiltrating the country and usurping the country and trying to destabilize it. I'm against organizations that promote riots and who try to burn down buildings. How could you do that? How could you support individuals who do violence like that and then to let them go? Why did they let them go? Why did they let that lady go? The lady that attacked me uh, was right in front of me. Uh, I was on one corner. She was on the direct opposite corner on the same side of the street, just feet away from me, right in front of me. How did she find out where I lived? I don't think it's by accident that she's in my neighborhood now. How did that happen? How did that happen? Why was she let go? She fought 4 cops. How could you let that happen, people? She also attacked an elderly black man. What it looks like it's possible a bias attack. The area where the attack occurred is overwhelmingly white people. So why is it that she only seemed to target black people? I know there was a third person who was targeted who got hit because they came to me and told me what happened to them, but I don't remember who that other individual was. Again, I was very excited and very in pain. My chest was in pain. She hit me. Come on. Come on, people. Come on. It's buffering again. I don't know whether you can hear me, but it's buffering again. It's buffering again. Come on. Come on. It's buffering. Okay, so it's going back on now. Yeah, it was buffering. Sorry about that, people. Yeah, so again, I'm not here to offend anybody. That is not my thing to talk about people for the sake of just talk about people. I'm talking about awareness. I'm talking about putting the pieces together. That what's happening now is really a target not just on black people, but all of America and the entire planet. It's going to be a social takeover. So if you have people, the Chinese Communist Party, or other socialists or communists abroad, they too are in on this, and they have a new world system that they want to implement. They want to make you into robots. They want to put your consciousness in a machine, people. You heard about that. You heard about what Facebook is going to implement. It's a whole system of control. Don't go in it. Don't go in something to put your mind. You don't think that they could entrap your mind in a computer? It'd be a new slavery. Don't do it. There's a movie about this. I think it's called Little People. I forget the name. If you guys remember the name, you can write it in the description below, in the chat room. But there was a movie that, like if you had a serious illness that you couldn't be healed from, that they can take your mind and put in a machine in a miniature world. And it was a husband and wife that was going to do it together. And the husband goes through it, but the wife's changed her mind at the last minute. And once you do this thing, you can't reverse it. So these people were stuck. You don't think that these people, once they trap your soul, they can also put you in a machine, in an avatar body. Okay, get this, people. This is important. They can put your brain, your mind, in an avatar body, and an avatar, like the movie Avatar. If you haven't seen it, at least look at the clips, the trailer, the movie trailer of um, Avatar, about this guy. Uh, they were going to another planet, and they wanted to infiltrate people. They wanted to infiltrate a new this uh, these people from this planet. They're blue, the blue people, the giants, and you had white people primarily who wanted to infiltrate this world. So what they did was they were able to get samples of the native population of that planet and do a clone of that body. And they used a little bit of the genetics of the humans, the earthlings. And then once that's done, they grow the bodies in a tank. And then they take the mind of that person that they mix the DNA with, the human DNA, and put it into that body to operate. And that's basically what the movie Avatar was about. So once they look like them, they study them, they learn their language and all that, in hopes to convince the native people to allow them to take their precious minerals. Okay, so stealth is still doing stealth stuff, and you're infiltrating in order to steal their property and then to destroy the people. So don't don't always believe people who look something like you. Someone can look something like you, but it doesn't make them your friend. It's what's in the heart that matter. It's what's in the heart that matters amongst people. Are you of the same mindset? Are you a loving person? Are you a caring person? Do you care about your community? Do you care about eating healthy food that doesn't have GMO? These are things that you should consider in a person and in a community. Do they have the same value system as you? This is very important. What I'm saying in this whole video, I know it's a long video, and I know that maybe some people might get offended of the things I'm saying, but my purpose is not to offend. It really isn't about race per se. It's about motive. It's about motive. And unfortunate people of similar background may have similar mindsets. But the mindset is not strictly based on what you look like. Your mindset is how you think. And you want people with the same type of morals as you. But people do, people are affiliated by what group that they belong to, which could be based on someone's nationality and language. That has a big pull on society. But now it's being used against the populace. People are being taken advantage of. And they're using the black population as a means to wedge into society. So if you're a foreign born, your entry into, or often it seems, penetrate to penetrate within that society is within the black community. You open up a shop. It's the cheapest place to open up a business in a black neighborhood. These black people are dependent on what you offer. You gather the money and you use your money for your children to go into Ivy League schools. Hello? But these people, or these blacks, are using this knowledge to protect themselves from outsiders. And you're being manipulated, in my opinion, by the Chinese Communist Party, the CCP. The CCP studies groups, studies psychology, sociology. It knows people, it knows behavior, and works slowly. They don't work overnight, they work slowly over periods of time to penetrate communities and then to subjugate it and control it. And that is what this, in my opinion, the pandemic, as I call it, is all about. It's about a slow kill, it's about control. And they'll use anything to control you. And I feel, in my opinion, just my opinion, that um, Trump threatened that opportunity of the Communist Chinese Party. And that's when all the melee started happening. He was a threat to their goal of taking over the system. That's why Trump, in my opinion, said America first. Trump sensed, in my opinion, that it's going to be a slow takeover and the industry. Most of the things, at least in New York City, you go buy something at a major shopping center, it's all made in China. Everything. You buy something on Amazon, it's all made in China. I kid you not. I bought these things lately, and then I look, it's all made in China. This is what it's all about. I'm not talking about an anti-Asian rant. That's not what I'm about. I've never been about that. But I see patterns and I see we being suckered into accepting certain things. Because if you speak out, then you're perceived as a bigot or a racist, right? Wasn't Trump perceived as a bigot and a racist? He's been in New York politics for over 40 years. And no black person in New York City ever called him a racist or a bigot. You have the black rap artists taking videos with him and photos with him. So that means all these black rappers of yesterday are all friends of bigots and like they hang out with a bigot? No, that's not what it's about. And that's not what he's about. He may be brash. Yes, he says things that are not politically correct. But what was he getting at? He was getting at, he knew that it was going to be a takeover and that it's a slow kill. And he said, America first. Let's bring back industry back to America. Why? So what? Why? What does all black people have against that? Those jobs are going to come back into your community. Stupid. You want the jobs to stay in your neighborhood, in your country. And so, well, we don't want to hurt. We don't want whites to whatever. Well, it's hurting you, and it hurts you first, people. It hurts black people first. This buying out America, no jobs. Why do you think there's no industry? Because it's all being sent out of the country. They want to control the market, the world market. And you're going to be the new world slave. Remember, China has, what's that, close to 2 billion people? 2 billion. And they're going to take over Africa as well. It's a slow takeover. They got the numbers and go real quiet. You go just be real quiet and they take over. And again, this is not about the average Chinese person. I'm not talking about the average Chinese person. I'm talking about the government, the Communist Chinese Party that is infiltrating the Americas. It already infiltrated Canada. They're trying to take over the U.S. And other people are working alongside the Communist Chinese Party in its socialism and causing riots and trying to emphasize in the the injustices that does happen in the black community with the killings that happened to that guy, the black jogger that died, and then you had George Floyd who died. They're triggering you, and they're using your plight to justify the physical violence that's happening in the country. But after everything is said and done, your neighborhood is depleted, and you don't see this. And then they move on and forget about you. They're forgetting about you. Then they put up this pandemic. So they're forcing people to wear masks, and then you can't breathe. You have asthma, remember? So they want people with asthma to wear something and they can't breathe. Then it increases your heart rate because now you're not getting enough oxygen. So you develop hypenia. I think it's called hypoxia. I'm sorry, hypoxia. Hypoxia is low oxygen, low blood oxygen. So you wonder why you can't really think straight, why you can't focus, why you can't remember things, why now you're developing pneumonia because you're breathing in the same mask and the bacteria, so you develop bacterial pneumonia. Hello, people. Why don't they want you outside? Because they don't want you to get fresh air and feed your brain. They want you to stay indoors and be sick and breathe in all the stale air. In my opinion, this is my opinion, just my opinion. It's designed to hurt you, and it's also designed to also hurt mainstream America. They just don't want to just attack black people. They want to attack all of us, all people on this planet. It is a global takeover. It is a global takeover. And they want you distracted and just think about race. It's not just about race, it's about everything. It's about humanity. They are taking away your rights to just be. They are now um, preventing your children to really have a good education. You think what happened last year when kids had to stay at home. Yeah, kids had to stay at home. So they're not socializing. They have the thing on their face, the mask, and so now they can't really learn how to speak. Because part of speaking is to be able to see the mouth and see how you pronounce words, and your facial expression is also part of communication. We don't know how to communicate anymore. Everybody's behind their mobile device and just typing and typing and typing and texting and texting and texting. We become a text society. We're being dehumanized. We're thinking like a computer. We're becoming the computer. And lo and behold, Facebook wants to implement the metaverse, which is getting you submerged in virtual reality. So you really don't know what way is up. People, wake up, wake up, wake up. It is a global attack on you. But what I say in short, well, I'm going to be closing soon, my batteries are running out. Um, be prayerful. Try to pray every day. I do mirror gazing. I look in the mirror in a dark room with a candle on, and I give affirmations. Yes, give affirmations over your life, affirmations over your children, your loved ones, affirmations over your country, your neighborhood, affirmations for everyone on this planet that we can overcome as a planet, to overcome the wickedness that is trying to make us into the Matrix. That's what the Matrix movie was all about. Dehumanizing humanity, to take away our soul and become slaves, eternal slaves. Let's stop this. We can stop it together by thinking positive, by, again, giving affirmations that we can achieve. We have perfect health. We have good lives. We love our neighbors. We love ourselves. Start saying these things, words of healing over you and your nation, over the planet, okay? So I've been on here long enough. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let people know about it. I'm gonna adjust. Yes, so let me go now. Come on. I'm gonna go now. Come on, people. Come on. Come on. Okay, so I'm gonna go now. It's keep on glitching. So yeah, pass it on. Peace, love, and joy, and power to you all. Bye bye. Signing out.